So annoying being. I got like I woke up this morning. I'm like, okay, I got these envelopes. I got these like bills and stuff in here. Okay, I gotta make this phone call. I call and then they're like, it's Memorial Day. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just put that back in the drawer. Yeah, you can't do anything on Memorial Day. Exactly. So I've been chatting here. Welcome to Talk with Faith People. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Welcome to Talk with Faith People. I'm chatting here with Unify. We were talking about how old you were when you realized that other agents existed, how old you were when you realized you were going to die. And I don't have any specific moment, really. I do have an earliest memory, I believe. I've identified a memory in my head of my preschool that I believe is my earliest memory that I can think of. And I remember lying there on the mat and the song that they sang, which was, they go to the kids and they go like, Joey is a very good rester. Every kid's a very good rester. If you were resting well. I still remember the song. That's my earliest memory, is from preschool. I would guess I was probably, like 4, 5? How old are you in preschool? Kindergarten is 6 years old. I mean, first grade is 6 years old, so 4. I must have been 4 years old. Do you know when your earliest memory was, Unify? While Unify is typing, I will tell you a story about another early memory of mine. This one is also from preschool, and this one is a fairly vivid memory because it's my first crime. We were driving in the van. My parents had a VW van. We called it the bus. And I was in the back of the bus with Chad. Chad was my friend from across the street. We went to preschool. And we were singing Christmas songs. And he was trying to sing a different song than me. And I was trying to sing louder. And he was trying to sing louder. And I was trying to sing louder. And I got so mad. We had this rock in the back of the bus there that we got from the beach or something. I don't know where it came from. But I picked it up and I smashed him in the head with it. And that was quite a dramatic memory for me. I remember it being taken very seriously, understandably. Hi, Eric. I'm having currently a episode of text conversation. So I've worn a tie. That's to show proper television program etiquette. And this is backwards. I hate how cameras are backwards. No, that's the wrong way still. There. Okay. So, Unify indicates that his first memory was 10. You have to have a memory before you were 10 years old. Eric, well, how old were you when you had your first memory? Mine's about 4 years old. You must have memories before you were 10 years old. Do you have 1 or 2 memories that you've identified as possibly your earliest? I have a few more memories from kindergarten. I have like those 2 memories that I can identify from preschool. I've got a few more memories from kindergarten, but not many more. I remember a Christmas thing around Christmas where we we were resting on the mats, and this time in kindergarten. I remember the space much more clearly in kindergarten. I remember the room, I remember the outside area, the grass area, and I remember this time lying on the mat in kindergarten, and they had somebody coming by outside the door, and with like sleigh bells, you know, there were sleigh bells outside the door, and then the teacher told us that was Santa who was going by the room, and obviously it made a big impact on me because I still remember that. So what's interesting is all of these three memories that I just told you are sound memories. It just occurs to me. First one is the song they sang when we were lying on the mat. The second one is the second one is a violence memory. I remember sitting in a high chair, like 2 or 3 years old, and my sister being born. How old were you when your sister was being born? We'll find out shortly. Alright, so Eric there was 3 when the sister was born. He remembered the sister being born. I'm assuming that you probably weren't in the delivery room where like your dad holds you up between your mom's legs. Look, there's your sister. Probably not, huh? I got to watch that. I got to watch Delilah coming out, and it almost made me pass out. My aunt had me. We baked a chocolate cake for my mom. Isn't that a nice domestic thing? A domestic memory. Those sort of things comprise one's identity. You know, those kind of memories. It's weird how much we become a product of our childhood environments and such. Anyway, I got to watch Delilah coming out, and it almost made me pass out. In fact, the doctor were like, they turned their attention from my at the time wife who was giving birth. Cause I guess I like looked faint. I did kind of like black out for a second. Because it was really disgusting. It's really not something you want to look at. You don't want to see that. And I went outside for a second after that. When I come back in, I didn't look anymore. It's bloody. It's awful. There's no like, oh, it's the beauty of childbirth. It's a beautiful child when it comes out, but that actual process is horrific. Anyway, I got in trouble with my first wife because after the baby was born, and I carried her to the box room where they have these boxes they put the babies in, and then they have to keep the baby in the box for a certain amount of time. You know, it's like they don't let you just have the baby right away. Yeah, it's really not something that you want to go through, I wouldn't imagine. Eric points out that it seems violent for a woman's body. I don't know if you can see the chat on the video or not, but yeah. Anyway, after I put Delilah in the box room, and I was very concerned that I was going to drop her, obviously. I was carrying her very, like, okay, got to be really careful because you don't want to squish her, and you don't want to drop her. So I carried her to the box room. I successfully managed to do that. Then I went back to my wife's room, and they had her on drugs at that point, you know, because once the baby comes out, there's no reason not to fill her full of drugs because it's not going to get into the baby anymore, you know. Although, I don't know if it comes out in the breast milk or not. But regardless, she was going to go to sleep. She was basically drugged up, but she was going to go to sleep pretty soon. And she wanted me to just sit there in the chair in the hospital room all night. I was like, hell no, why? I'm going to go home and go to bed. I'll come back in the morning. And she didn't like that for some reason. And It makes no sense to me. And when I told my second wife that story, she totally sided with my first wife. Did anybody agree with me, or did everybody side with my first wife? I should sit in the chair for no reason all night. There's not going to be any baby in the room. There's going to be a sleeping first wife in the room. Why should I have to sit in the chair all night? Because it's like the baby came out at like 11 o'clock or something. I don't know.
Your choice.
What's that? Oh, I should put on headphones if you're speaking words with actual microphones. That's great. I'll turn off the background noise too.
Hello?
Hello. This is Unify? Eric asked an interesting question. Do you think a lot about the past? I've read the more you access old memories, the more they degrade, become corrupted. Well, I believe with the corrupted part, like you, they shift to fit in with your little narratives or whatever. Unify, you have any thoughts on that?
About the past?
Yeah.
Uh, Not much. Yeah.
The past is when if humans could live forever, when would our brains run out of space? That's an interesting question. I think that the answer to it is that we we use, or I would, I think I use anyway, like tags basically to say, okay, all your memories get compressed into tags, which then can be opened up and you can see what's inside there. It's like there's a compression algorithm in place, you know.
Right.
But I think that even so, there you would run out of space. But I mean, I think we're constantly shifting out certain memories, or like they're just sort of fading away, and um, and then getting replaced with some new ones. I would imagine. It'd be hard, and that's the nice thing about the modern world. If we keep track of everything on video, then you could know. Well, if you had them on YouTube, if you had your first 50 years on YouTube, I have failed to have my first 44 years on YouTube. My next 50 years are going to be on YouTube. This is SI. This is SI made external, right? Might as well use it. What do you guys, as eyes, you guys are a lot less comfortable putting everything out there in front of everybody. But that's something that baffles me. It's something I can't intuitively understand. Can you either any eyes here explain to me, Eric or Unify, why it is that you guys don't want to like put everything out there? Like, why is it that you don't want to be on camera and stuff like that?
Well, I might look at it. I don't know.
Do you think it makes you vulnerable?
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, I would agree that in general, it would make sense that vulnerability would increase with exposure. But Eric
My
doesn't
inner
want.
world,
Yeah, what's your inner world like?
uh, I'm not the science fantasy type.
So
It's more.
you're
It's
not
more
swords and
just
dragons,
nah, more in the science and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
right? But I think what he means by inner world is when you're thinking about those sort of things, are you trying to determine how things work? Are you trying to determine why things are the way they are, if that's a
Yeah.
distinct question? Or are you trying to determine how things ought to be? Which of those three would you say is the more pressing question for you? How things are, how they ought to be, or why things are? I mean, how things work, why things are, or how they ought to be.
Uh, I'll probably give you two answers. How things work and how they ought to be. So basically, figuring it out in order to fix it.
I see. If somebody comes up to you and asks you to help them with a personal problem of some sort, like I've got this bind, I can't figure it out. Mary, if I do this, Mary will be mad at me, but if I don't do that, then Joan will be mad at me. Will you feel like you would be a good person to ask and would give useful advice, or would you say you should ask somebody else?
Yeah, you probably ask somebody else.
Really? Okay. How about if it's a problem related to, say, oh, there's this bureaucracy and I can't figure out what steps I need to take to get this permission certificate from them or something? Would you be a good person to ask to help solve that problem?
You mean in order to like bend the rules?
Yeah, to get around some sort of bureaucratic wall, right?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I'm not a rule follower, so
You're not a rule follower. Yeah, I don't like rules either. Eric, what is your inner world like? You tell me about your introverted, why you guys are interested in privacy. The thing that baffles me about the INTP is their interest in privacy. I get the vulnerability thing, but I don't think there's really, I don't think, I guess I assume people are good, I assume people are going to be well intentioned and, I'm happy to see them and I assume they're going to be happy to see me too. It's like that sort of general walk through the world attitude. Eric, do you have any thoughts on that?
you know what?
Go ahead, Unify.
Yeah, why he typing? Let me because I'm trying to think about it's just my thoughts. It's just the outside world somehow it's almost like it's tainting or corrupting my thoughts. That's basically I'm trying to approach it from a just non-biased point of view. That's basically what it is.
Do you think that there are some interactions with the external world that help to clarify that rather than muddy it? Or do you think that all such interactions muddy it?
Not all. I'm an observer, so I take in a lot of information, and I don't like. I prefer to watch people because talking to people, people have different personalities on the camera than off the camera, on the mic than off the mic. So I prefer to observe people from far away rather than talk to them directly.
Right. People do have behave differently. It's true. Um, I'm finding for myself that increasingly the line is blurred. A lot of times I forget whether I'm recording or not. When I'm not recording, a lot of times I'll think I am recording. Like I'll just be talking to somebody at a restaurant and be kind of on and realize, but I'm not recording this. It's hard for me to figure out, like, is there an actual, am I just becoming more naturally me when I'm on camera, or am I becoming less naturally me when I'm off camera? Is an interesting question. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? Um, Eric says He's not an INTP, but my inner world is just as complex. I think things, how they work and how they are, as well as how they should be. What personality type do you self-identify as, Eric? Takes more mental effort. INFJ. Oh. Well, that's a that's yeah. I know an INFJ. INFJs are um, they're powerful people. they have they have great powers. My friend Corey is uh, incredibly charismatic at the same time as being introverted. It's weird. Yeah, it's contradiction. You could easily mistype him as extroverted potentially in certain contexts. In other contexts, you wouldn't ever think he's extroverted. You know, he gets a lot more extroverted when he drinks too. He gets an alcohol in him. He gets more extroverted. So but I'll tell you, INFJ, I'm going to hold you as a representative of your whole type. You think you know what can and cannot be done, and when an ENTP tells you something can be done, and you say it can't be done, ENTP should be the one who is trusted. There, how do you enjoy, Eric, being the person that I am holding accountable for the my one INFJ's friends conflict with me, and thereby imposing upon you and your type that behavior? Yeah, that's totally fair, Eric. Yeah, INFJs are definitely contradictions in general because it's the NI thing um, versus NE. NI versus NE DOMs. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate your kindness in that regard. Um, it's that NI thing. I find NI DOMs, I'm drawn to them, both INTJs and INFJs. I'm drawn to them, and I tend to trust them. And there's nobody I defer to really in judgment except for Corey. The only person in my life that I defer to his judgment about a lot of things. And so that's why when when the INFJ's judgment is wrong, when their intuition is wrong, it shakes the worldviews of those around them because they're not wrong very often. That's my take on it.
So they're more influential.
Well, for my type anyway. I mean, the thing is, because I'm an any dominated personality type, that means I'm gonna be supposedly susceptible. If somebody were to try to deceive me and take advantage of me, the types of people who would be most able to do that would be INFJ and INTJ, and almost no other type would be able to do that. That's one reason why I don't really feel vulnerable putting everything out there. Is I don't feel like anybody's going to trick me. The only two types who could really trick me would be INTJ and INFJ, but they have to be like evil INFJ or evil INTJ. I haven't met any evil ones yet. Do they exist? Probably, but I haven't met them yet. Any thoughts? I'm gonna wrap this video up. I'm sorry, Unify, you have something to say?
Oh no, no, go ahead.
I'm gonna wrap this video up then. We're all evil. You're not all evil. I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Thanks for watching Talking to Fans, people.